Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, a.k.a. the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week, we got Logan on from MMG. We got Darby on from MMG, first time appearance.
First time.
We got Skylar, not from MMG, but from the Miami Dolphins. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for having me.
So you have been friends with Darby for a while, I think. I don't know. I'm new to this whole thing, so I'm just Logan and I said we were just sitting here listening to you two. So when did you guys cross paths?
Yeah, so Darby and I, we crossed paths I would say probably I was in third grade, fourth grade, Pop Warner days.
Shit, you've had to deal with Darby for that long? I've dealt with him for a month. Known him for a little longer.
No, we crossed paths through football with his younger brother Jay, and just kind of grew up all through growing up playing football. And through high school, Darby was a senior, I was a freshman, and Darby obviously had his license, I didn't. So Darby was always my ride around to and from 530 weights and all that stuff. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time and been really close. So it's been a really good relationship.
Very cool. This whole time I thought you guys were the same age.
No?
I didn't know Darby was older.
Yeah, Darby's older.
So where'd you guys go to high school?
Fort Osage.
Fort Osage.
Yes, sir.
So coming up, playing football, you guys go off to college. Is that where the paths steered away? Or how did that all look?
No, I wouldn't say, I think with any good, friendship, it's not a matter of how often you talk. It's a matter of you can talk at any point in time when you're picking up right where you left off, and that's how Darby and I have always been, and so he went to Northwest, I went to K-State, and, we've always stayed in touch since. He came out to some games and been around his family, his kids, and, all that stuff. So, we stayed in contact through the years and, make ends work, no matter how busy we are or whatever, stay in touch and all that. And that's the key to a good friendship. So, yeah,
that's, I saw you down at the office 2 weeks ago. I come in there, sitting in the kitchen eating Chipotle. I'm walking out, I was like, who's the dude sitting in the counter eating Chipotle over there? Darby's friend. I was like, oh, gotcha. But so Darby, you get done in high school, you go off to college, play at Northwest. What do you think at that point was your biggest change in actually playing football?
Oh, well, so originally out of high school, I obviously went to Northwest. Well, my first 2 years I didn't actually play. Didn't have any intentions on playing really at all. Crazy story. So how I got on the team was I ended up going and playing basketball with a couple of buddies. Well, it turns out they were playing with the football coaches. And, one thing led to another, and we were just hooping. The head coach ended up having to be there, and he actually came up to me about the middle of the game and was like, son, he patted me on the back mid-game. He was like, son, he's like, you might be coming out for the football team. He's like, he just don't know it yet. So, me, I'm just like, oh, yeah, whatever. And just laughing yeah, that didn't happen to anybody. Well, long story short, after the game, the receivers coach came up to me, and he was like, hey, we want to get your number. Want to come talk to the coaches, see if we can get you on the team. So at that point, I was still kind of yeah, I don't think this is being for real, And then I woke up the next day, still had the voicemail on my phone to this day. Had a voicemail at about 7 o'clock in the morning from the receivers coach, which I still talk to today. He, hey, we want you to come talk to the coaches. We want to get you on the team. And originally, they just wanted me to come out for spring ball, just see, if I liked it, enjoyed it. They ended up inviting me back for summer camp and then kept me on the team for the fall and played my last 2 years there. So, yeah,
it's a pretty legit story.
Yeah, still waiting on my 30 for 30. But if you guys have any connections for that, we can get that going.
Yeah, I'm assuming your story looks a little different.
A little bit. It's not as cool as that one, but so I went to Fort Osage, and I went to K-State out of high school. I spent 6 years there. I redshirted my first year, and then my last year there, I tore my pec, like second game of the year, my 5th year. And that was like right when COVID was going on. So it was just a weird year, just in general, for everyone. But definitely for me, that was the first time I've ever had like a significant injury ever. And it was on my throwing arm. And it kind of set everything back for me timetable wise. I was planning on, obviously that was going to be my last year, senior year, and go take my shot at the NFL. And, it kind of everything got put on pause there for a second. So I ended up using my COVID year because they granted everybody a COVID year. So I used my COVID year, was there for my 6th year, and finished off really well, and got drafted in 7th round to the Dolphins, and going on my 3rd year. So it's been a journey. It's been awesome. Wouldn't trade it for the world. Learned a lot about myself, through adversity, challenges, and it's never been easy, and I think that's the thing that has always kept me just to keep going, So it's been worth everything, and it's been an awesome journey.
So when you leave and you get to college, you start off at college. I know a lot of people play high school athletics. They get to a college level, and I didn't play college athletics, but I knew a lot of people that did. And I heard what would you say that level like changes when you got at K-State? Like, what was that difference of being at that level?
Yeah, I would say, people are bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. The speed of the game's faster. You throw a whole new element of, crowd noise with bigger, stadiums and all that stuff. So it's, I loved it. I really loved K-State because it was a true football town that everybody lived and died football. So every single home game was sold out, tailgating. I just got the full experience, and that's kind of what I wanted out of high school. But I would say like you adjust quick. You learn and adapt and just find your way. And that's kind of how it worked for me. It didn't necessarily strike right away. I redshirted my first year, and I got thrown in there my redshirt freshman year after our starter got hurt, had some success, and that kind of set off my career. So, it's definitely an adjustment, but it's just like same thing for the NFL. You just go up every level, it's bigger, faster, stronger. It's just like with anything in the world, really as you just move up, it's going to get more competitive and more challenging. But I think that's what, for everybody as a competitor, that's what you want, so.
You had a pretty successful high school career too, right?
Yeah, it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
No, I'd say it was pretty rough.
No. So what led your decision to choose K-State coming out of school? Because you had, did you have like more offers?
Yeah. So my recruiting process was actually really interesting. I was under recruited, to be honest. I think if I was getting recruited in today's world, I think it would have looked a lot different for me. Especially Kansas City. I thought, especially growing up, Darby probably would relate to the same thing. And we had a lot.
Darby was under recruited too.
100%.
Well,
Everything.
I mean, I think, especially in our era growing up, like Kansas City football, there was so many good football players, and it just wasn't an area that was really targeted to be recruited. And so I got my first offer from KU after my junior year. And they were not very good at the time, but I really liked them. But I knew
Fair statement.
Probably where I wasn't going to go. So I just kind of wrote out the process, and there was a handful of schools, mostly Big 12 schools that were recruiting me, and kind of everybody told me at the time, which I was skinny. I was undersized, I guess I didn't think so, but that's whatever everybody was saying. So it was kind of just a waiting process for me. And through that process with my dad, we would travel every weekend. Honestly, we'd pick these schools that are recruiting me that I was interested in, that I liked, and we would go visit them. And then on the drive home, we would just kind of just talk about pros and cons of what we liked, what we didn't like. And, what we noticed at K-State when we came home, there wasn't any cons. We really, really liked it. And really liked the family atmosphere, the way people treated me, treated my dad. I mean, just going in the gas station, not just necessarily the football complex, like just the town itself in Manhattan was special. And it just felt like it fit me. I'm a very family oriented person, and that was a core value of mine. So everything just kind of fell into place, and everything worked out really great. When I committed to K-State, K-State offered me, KU offered me in February, and then K-State offered me, I want to say, in like May. And that was kind of when K-State offered me, was when the recruiting process was blowing up for me. But I was really set. Like, I was like, knowing if K-State offered me, it's probably where I'm going to go. And so when they offered me, I committed like a week after, and I stayed committed through my senior year. So that's kind of when, I had Ohio State, like right before signing day, try to get me to flip. I had some bigger schools, especially late after the season was over. My senior year was probably my best football season that I had in high school. So kind of all made sense, and won a state championship and had a lot of success. But I just stayed committed to K-State and really loved it, and everything worked out. So, yep.
What year did you graduate high school?
2016.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Bill Snyder was still at K-State.
Yeah. So that was another big thing. Coach Snyder was obviously a very well-known coach and very well respected, and K-State was a really well-respected program. So I knew I was going to be in good hands, and I had a great relationship with Colin Klein, who was a Heisman finalist there, and he was a GA at the time, but he was my quarterback coach at K-State there for 5 years. So that Coach Klein was honestly the big reason why I went there, because I had a great relationship with him, and I knew that he would probably be coaching me there. So everything kind of just fell into place and worked itself out really well.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So you said when you were in college you tore your pec.
Mm-hmm.
When that happened, was that? I know a lot of times when you've put that much effort into something, you're going the way, and then all of a sudden something like that happens. Was that what kind of roadblock? What was the mental thought process behind that? Because I feel like it's a whole different mental state that you go into.
Yeah, no, and especially because I hadn't experienced it before, and yet alone on like the thing that I needed most, my right arm is gone for 8 months. Like, it was like, at first it was a big shock, and I knew exactly, like, when I got hit, I knew something wasn't right. But at the same time, it's just like, you kind of go through the grieving process, and I think the hardest time for me, honestly, was the time from when I got hurt to when I got surgery, like that.
Because at that point, were you thinking like, hey, there's a chance to go to the NFL and make a career of
yes. No.
And you said it was the second game of the year.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and we had just upset Oklahoma. We played at Oklahoma. They were number 3 in the country. We just upset them. I was playing some of the best football of my career and feeling very confident. And it was just like that. It was over, so it was really challenging. Like, that week before I had surgery, you're just sitting there helpless, you can't really do anything. And, that's where you become your worst enemy, in a little bit. And that's kind of overthink. And, I had thoughts of not playing, honestly. Like, I really want to give a shot at this again. Am I going to be able to throw the ball the same? Is everything, how is it going to, I don't know, but once when I got surgery, it was like, and I had something to work for, it was like through the rehab process and everything, I could feel myself improving, getting better. And that's when it was like, I'm going to be fine, and it's just another, piece of my story that makes it special to me. And, I've always, and I would say, for everybody, you want to earn it. I don't want to ever have anything given to me. And I felt like that was like a true test to like, do you really want this or not? So, and it ended up working out really well for me.
Do you think that extra year also ended up helping you in the end with your?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Because, it's that 6th year was super interesting because it was, I'm 22 years old.
It's a grown ass man out there.
Yeah,
we mess with them all the time. Perry Ellis,
they do.
Asphalt, KU for like 12 years.
That was
with the COVID deal too. Is that everybody got that year didn't count for anybody?
Yeah.
So
no, the Perry Ellis jokes definitely flew in the group for sure. But I ate them. But it was that 6th year was probably my favorite year, honestly. But it was just, it was a new challenging role for me because I had to connect to guys that were, we had guys come in and said they were born in 2001. I'm like, what do you mean 2001? So you had to find some ways to connect with the younger guys and
learn new words.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So, because you want those guys to respect you and, follow you as a leader too. So, it was really good, and we won our bowl game versus LSU to finish the year, and that was my first bowl game that we won the whole time I was there. So it was kind of just going out on a high note, and I played really well and all that. So it was a fun year for sure, and like I said, I wouldn't traded it, wouldn't taken it back for the world.
Yeah, I think sometimes those setbacks end up being positive, and things. It's crazy how much in life that happens.
Oh yeah,
something seems like it's going to be really bad at the time.
Yeah,
it ends up being for you.
No, absolutely.
So
absolutely,
you finished up the college career. How long do you have? I'm just for everyone listening. At the end of college, what's the wait time to go into the draft?
Yeah, so our bowl game was, I want to say January 3rd. So it was like right after New Year's. And then the NFL draft was like April 22nd. So our bowl game was whatever day I said, and I don't even know if that's right, but it's in that vicinity. I started training like literally like as soon as I got back to K-State, signed with an agent, got everything set up for what I wanted to do for my training, and I wanted to do everything in Kansas City. I had a good relationship with my quarterback coach I still work with, Coach Hoover, and I wanted to stay here. You know, there's a lot of there's all these big training complexes in Arizona, Florida, California, everywhere, but I felt comfortable here, and
I want to be the Midwest boy.
Yeah,
makes that.
Yeah,
homegrown.
100%. Thanks, 100%. But yeah, no, like literally, like as soon as the season was done, like I got back here and like immediately started because I was still having some side effects from my shoulder injury a little bit, and I tore my PCL that year too. So I was playing through a knee injury. And I had a high ankle sprain too. So I was really banged up after the season. So I knew I needed to keep moving and get into rehab and everything. But it was really quick. Like I did that, and then I played in the East-West Shrine. It was like a senior all-star game in Las Vegas. That was first week of February. So then I did that, and then I'd come back and I had another month of training, and then did the combine and all that. So it was a 3-month span. There wasn't really no break. Like it was that full year from my senior year there to my rookie year. It was like full 12 months of football.
So when you're going into the draft, you have an agent. Like, what's that whole process looking like when you're entering into it?
I think it probably, you're the one to answer this.
Logan's been in the draft 3 times. One of these days, soon as
been there, I'll put my knee out.
So wait.
I broke my pinky finger, so I couldn't go last year.
My bad. To add on to that question though, like there's probably a certain point where you realize like the draft is a real potential for you in your college career. I would assume and speak to this that kind of works hand in hand.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So like, I don't know how the rules are nowadays, but I think when I was in college that agents could contact you going into your senior year that summer, that they could contact you. So before I tore my pec, I already had multiple agents that had reached out to me, and you just you're building relationships at that time. Honestly, you're trying for me.
So what's the agent outlook like? How does
How do you choose
that's what I'm kind of thinking. Like, I'm thinking that's like a entourage thing where I know they're like agents for different stuff, but it's just like some dude zipping around in his badass car in LA, like, hey, bro.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing is connections, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, there's well-known agencies that have your top athletes in the world, and you know that are very well known, very well connected, and very well respected by GMs in all sports. But for me and like my selection process was I wanted to have a really good relationship with them, and I wanted to be able to trust them. You know, I didn't really care to chase the big agency groups. I had a couple of those come, but it was like I just wanted to find the best fit for me. And one of my previous teammates at K-State, Wyatt Hubert, he got drafted by the Bengals the year before. He signed with the agent that I have. And so I had known I really enjoyed that relationship with Wyatt because I was able to, you know, it's like a used car salesman. You know, they want to get you to sign with them. So it's like, who's telling the truth, who's not. So I really had liked having a friend that I trusted that could give me true feedback of what he was like. And that made the decision process like really, really easy for me. But, you know, it's crazy though. I mean, the agent world is crazy, but you honestly, you have to have one, you know, like they're so well connected. And when it comes in contract stuff, like you want to have somebody that is very well experienced in that area that can, you know, fight for you, you know, and that's what I want. I want somebody, if my butt's on the line and, you know, whatever, like I want an agent that's going to fight for me and, you know, get whatever I need to get. So that's kind of how that worked out for me.
Yep. Yeah. So you get an agent. Is he kind of walking you through what the draft is going to look like before it ever happens? Like those months you have off, you get down with your bowl game, all-star game, and then you're sitting there. It's like, hey, you have combine coming up. This is like kind of what your processes are going to look like. So you're not just kind of running around blind.
Yes. No, 100%. So whenever I went out to the East-West Shrine game in Vegas, we were there for a week. So for the first 2 days we had practice, and then in the afternoons we would meet with scouts, coaches, whoever was there. But and then after we were done, then our agents would go talk to these representatives for the teams or whatever. So kind of as I went through that process, through that 3 months, you know, teams that would call me or I would meet with them, we would have constant feedback with my agent. And kind of, so what he would do is kind of build a portfolio basically of kind of based off the information that he's gathered from his conversations and my feelings from my conversations with the teams, kind of who's our top teams, or kind of what they're saying, where they think I'm going to go or what that's going to look like. And then basically, like right before the draft started, he sent me a list of like, here's our tier 1 teams, tier 2, and tier 3. This is kind of what we've heard from teams of where we think you're going to be projected to go. This is no promises, you know, obviously you never know, but this is kind of what I'm thinking and kind of, you know, based off of our conversations and feelings, kind of where we think you're going to go. And, you know, it was really crazy because Miami was not like even on the list. Like I hadn't talked to Miami the whole draft process, like until the quarterback coach called me like the day before the draft. And, like, it was just like, you know, I didn't have any idea that I was going to go there. So it kind of caught me by surprise, and it goes to show like you can do all the work and everything, but you just never know what's going behind closed doors, you know, in that world. So, it's definitely interesting though, for sure.
You have that call and you're like, damn, Miami sounds warm. Sounds dope. Let's go to Miami.
Yeah, definitely worst spot.
Yeah,
for sure.
So draft gets finished up. I just think about like all the time, like when you're watching the draft, you see those people sitting with their family, you see them, like, I feel like that's like one of the most surreal parts about like the whole thing. Like,
yeah, what
is that? Just like waterfall of emotions that comes at like that point, like you made it.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, it was beyond special for me because that was like my ultimate dream, you know, and everybody wants to hear their name called, you know, and once I knew I was going to be a late round pick or an undrafted, you know, I accepted that and I was going to be okay with it. So as those later rounds kind of came around, you know, and every team you kind of see, you know, you see the pick is in, this is team and this is who's next. And then, so I would always keep an eye, like looking at my list of what my agent sent me, you know, okay, you know, the Texans are coming up, you know, and this could happen here, you know? And so you just kind of, it's really hard because you want to be engaged to it, but also like, I also was just walking around patient. I was like, I don't want to watch this.
You don't want to.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah. And
wonder what Darby's doing.
Dude, I was actually driving to his house and I got the notification on my phone. And I was so excited, I missed the turn to his house. So I had to drive all the way to Buckner. Yeah, come back. If you guys know anything about Buckner,
yeah,
not much to know about it.
Yeah,
absolutely. But as we progressed, the 7th round came around, and I started getting phone calls from teams for undrafted deals. So, I had probably 5 or 6 teams that had already, before the draft had even ended, had already offered me some undrafted stuff. So I had already mentally like accepted that I'm not going to get drafted. Like, this isn't going to work out, but I'm going to get an opportunity somewhere. I'm going to make most of it. So I was just answering calls, and, you know, there's some negotiating going on with my agent and all that stuff. And it was honestly like that part was super frustrating and hard because it's like, you have 6 teams that offer you something. And it's like, I just want somebody to pick me, you know, like I don't know. It was a lot, you know? So, I just got a call and answered a call, and I thought it was an undrafted deal, honestly, with the Dolphins. And he was like, you know, we're not going to let you go to the undrafted stuff. We're going to pick you here. And so it like immediately, like I dropped, like I couldn't even speak. I still can't speak about it, but it was just so cool because my whole family was there. The whole house was packed, and we were all tuned into the TV, and you hear that, you know, and then you see your name pop up there. Like, it was one of the most special moments of my life.
It gives me like goosebumps.
I got
like hearing about it.
Yeah. So it was a dream come true.
Probably would have been cool to see.
Yeah.
So Darby missed it. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was cool.
So you go through the draft, you get picked, and now all of a sudden it's like, what is the next day like? And like now all of a sudden it's like you're up and moving. And even across the cut, like, like what do you do the rest of the night? Like, you're still like, you're like,
oh, your name goes off the next pick.
Yeah,
you're
just going crazy with the fam.
Oh yeah. We had a great time.
I'd be spraying champagne everywhere.
Yeah, no, yeah. We had a great time. It was just really cool to be able to enjoy that with my people, you know, and then I've never been the one to like I've got here by myself. You know, I always contribute to everybody around me that supported me through my life and has been there, and you know, my family that has helped me get to where I am. So it was cool to share that with them. But it was literally like, oh man, yeah. I flew to Miami literally the next day, met all the coaches, did all that stuff, got my playbook, flew back, and we had like, I want to say
how long were you there?
Literally probably 6 hours.
Yeah.
There you go.
They just like,
so do they fly like, are you like PJ in, or are you like getting on Southwest?
Yeah, I was on Southwest.
I'm like overnight, are you like PJs, or is it like you still getting on Southwest to go there?
Yeah. So no, it was
good job, Rum.
It was
play for the Dolphins.
you probably at least got like A1.
Yeah.
Can I get early bird to leave?
Early bird check for sure. Yeah. So it was a quick trip, and then I had like a couple of weeks before rookie mini camp started, and that was that. Like it was immediate. Like you don't really have time to, you have time to enjoy it for a little bit, but it's you're back to work.
So is it like, are agents helping you like find a place there, like all that, or is it just like, hey, yeah, bro, you're leaving, like you're moving there, good luck, like,
tell your family bye.
Yeah,
I feel like that's just such I went to college, like what I went to college for was something that would been oil fields that was not around here, and like I got to the end of it and I thought like I'm prepared to leave, and then like I got to that point, I'm like, shit, I can't leave.
Yeah,
how am I gonna find a place to live?
I'm like, I've been around my whole entire life. I went to college an hour and a half away, so I wasn't too far away. Like it was just like that Midwest like mentality. So it's like you have that mentality, and I could see it. Like K-State, you're 2 hours away. You're not that far away.
Yep.
It's like, hey, something happens at home, I can still get back home fast.
Yeah,
and then it's like all of a sudden it's like, nope, now you're across country.
Oh yeah, no, that was a culture shock for me for sure. But luckily with my agency, so I have my agent, I have like a marketing rep, I have I don't even know what the title would be, but basically helps me with that type of stuff, finding a place, like all those little things like that. So I had a lot of help and kind of guidance of areas where to go, where to look, and kind of how that worked out. But also like I was in a position where I wasn't guaranteed to make the team, honestly. Like that's what I was fighting for, was just to get on the 53-man roster. So that whole summer when I was down there, I stayed in a team hotel and lived in a hotel for 3 months until I knew what the roster was going to look like before I bought any or did anything.
What's a team hotel?
So we have a hotel down there that's where we stay for every home game. And it's sponsored through the Dolphins and stuff. So they basically cover that and, take care of us while we're kind of in that in between, kind of what's going to happen. So, but it was definitely going from Manhattan, Kansas to Miami was.
Oh, whoa. You guys don't even have a Zaxby's around here.
From the Bluemont to the Ritz.
Yeah, literally. Like
you guys got an Aggieville around here?
No, absolutely. But it was a lot different. And just it honestly feels like you're in a different country down there a little bit. I mean, I didn't realize how like you're as south as you can get, so you got all different types of demographics of people, and people come from all different sorts of areas, so that for me was different. And, I grew up on land, a family, we live on 10 acres, and I've always been out I love the outdoors, and a lot of outdoors, a lot of land. So,
no cows.
Yeah. So it was like, it was a little different, but you definitely, you learn and adapt, and it's a good place. And like we said earlier, it's definitely worse spots
for real
to be playing.
I mean, you ain't dealing with snow down there.
Yeah.
I do love the country until the snow comes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice to look at, but just not so much fun to deal with all the time.
Yeah.
So when Tua was already there, when we got drafted, so what was that like coming in and kind of meeting Tua and realizing, what was that relationship like out of the gate, realizing that you would kind of be working in the same room as him?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So at the time when I got there, they had Tua and they signed Teddy Bridgewater, who everybody knows Teddy as well. So I was coming into a quarterback room that was already established and really, really good. And so, for me, I'm kind of a quiet person until I get to know people and feel comfortable to open up and be myself. And so you kind of, you read the room a little bit. And as a rookie as well, it's like, I'm not going to speak. I'm not saying anything. I'm going to do what I'm told, and I'm going to do the right thing all the time. And this is it. So, but Tua is great. Tua is great. He was a great teammate to me. And He had some injuries that year that were really tough for him, and would take the time out of his through that process, which I knew was really hard on him. Took time out to help me, and to this day will always stick with me and mean a lot to me, because it was, like I said, my goal was to make the team, and I made a 53-man roster, and before you knew it, I was starting week 4 versus the Jets. Versus the Vikings, and it was like played 5 games, started in 3 my rookie year. Like it was a big change.
Yeah, I definitely want to hit on that, but before we get to that, let's touch on like the moment. Or
Logan's living his best life over here. You guys know
of getting on the 53-man roster. What was that moment like leading up to it? Were you pretty sure that you were going to? How'd that feel?
Yeah, well, I had a really, really good preseason, and so
sounds like you had a good high school career, good college career, good preseason.
Yeah.
You're knocking out of the water. Just keep doing good things.
The top-rated quarterback in the preseason.
Yeah. No, it was really good. So I knew I was either going to be in Miami or I was going to be on another roster somewhere. So that gave me a lot of comfort, and I was able to go to sleep that night before cut day, because that's honestly, it's the worst day, one of the weirdest days of all time. And I've only experienced it twice, but just you go through training camp for 3 weeks where you're there for 8 hours a day. I mean, you're grinding with your guys, and then you see people get let go, and those relationships, they stick, but you feel for people,
When you see those things happening there, is it kind of known like, hey, he's not showing out compared to these guys? Like that's probably the one getting cut, or is it like
I would say you can kind of, I don't know. I would say like you can kind of get a feel probably based off of how many reps you're getting or opportunities that you're getting. But at the same time, like there's so many guys that are on the fence every year that you're fighting for your spot, fighting for a job. So it's kind of just up in the air. It's I'm telling you, it's such a weird day, because you walk in the facility, it's like I'm not making eye contact with any of you, anybody.
Right? We go to my locker,
I'm putting my head down, like don't look at me, don't touch me, don't tell me anything. Like that's kind of how it feels. It's just it's a tough day, but yeah, that's how it is though. But
so you made the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Now obviously super exciting getting to suit up for the first games. Probably still at that point, especially with Tua there, didn't think like, as a backup quarterback, always be ready.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Absolutely.
But there had to be like a little bit of surprise or like some level of like, oh shit, when that happened. What was that feeling?
Well,
where's my helmet? You're calling my name. Where's my helmet?
Yeah. No.
Coach, I didn't bring my helmet.
That's my helmet.
Yeah. No, it was crazy for me. So Tua had got injured, and we were playing the Jets up in New York, and Teddy was starting, and Teddy got hurt literally the first play of the game. So it was like, I didn't have time to think about it, honestly. Like it was literally like one of those things like, hey, you're in, and it was like, yeah, all right, let's go, so it was crazy, honestly. Like it was one of those things like, obviously it was a dream come true, and it's what you work for. But it was, you always got to be ready, like you said, and that's part of the job. But it was definitely like, I was definitely not expecting it to happen after the first play of the game. Like that was for sure. But, it worked out well though.
So is that something like you throw your helmet on, you run out on the field, you're rolling?
The nerves
like that's where I'm sitting there like, how many people? What do you?
Yeah.
A stadium like that, what on average was 60,000 people, like
every bit of it.
Yeah,
every bit of it. So it's like you run out there and it's just like, all right, it's go time. This is what,
like
this is my shot, my time to
guys
shine.
in the huddle say that.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's really they're behind you. And they're like, don't fuck this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they like, so where Teddy had gotten hit and got hurt, we were backed up like the -2 yard line. So we're like right in our own end zone already. So that was my first snap. I'm backed up -2. Like
great position.
We got to go 98 yards. Yeah.
Just how you pictured it.
Yeah. And
that's perfect.
Yeah. And they call a pass play, and here we go. Let's see how this goes. Through my first completion to Tyreek, and kind of went through the whole game there. It was that whole game was tough, really tough for me. I didn't play as well as I obviously would have liked to, but it was such a new situation that I've never experienced before. And anytime you can't simulate game reps like that. You can't simulate it at all. So it was just, adding tools to the toolbox for me. And it was something that like, I knew it was going to make me better. It was hard. It sucked. And I always want to win. Every time I step on the field, it's like, that's what I want to do. So whenever I feel like I contribute to, us losing or, just not doing what I want to do or what I want to do for the team, like that was tough, but you learn from it. You watch the film, and you bounce back. And next week I was starting versus the Vikings. You don't really have time to dwell on it too much. You got to live and learn and move on. So it was cool though.
So I'm going to detour a little bit from football on this, but through all this, you have a very much of a mindset of a go-getter, the mindset even like as a quarterback where it's you take it on your shoulder, you're a team player, it's you give credit to the people around you. Like I can always like just see leaders, like I can pick them out fast. Mm-hmm. And it's like you watch Patrick Mahomes when he goes up after you have never seen that dude get up and just go blame all his O-line or blame whoever it may be. He takes the brunt on his shoulder. It's the extreme ownership position. Like where did you get those characteristics from? Like, I know you said you grew up on land. Like I grew up out on land. Like my dad instilled different work ethic in me. Like, so it's like, where did that all come from?
Yeah. That's a really great question. Cause I think a lot of that was instilled in me from my dad just growing up. I come from a sports family. My dad was a basketball coach, uncle, grandpa. So like they were kind of, I would say in that leadership role, as a coach, so, but it was never like growing up, like my dad was telling me like, this is, how you be a leader. I never really had anybody tell me how to do that. Like it was kind of just like instilled in me just by the way I was raised, and I was always raised to work hard and give credit to people around you. It's not about you. It's about everyone else all the time, no matter how well you play. And just growing up, like no matter how much success I had, like, my dad never really told me I did a good job. Like it was always like, yeah, you did this good, but this, and this you can get better at, So like me in my mind, like since the day I picked up a ball, it was like, I'm always trying to figure out how I can get better, and I think just the way I was raised and brought up, and my dad just never let me be a selfish person. And I think that kind of just instilled in me just natural leadership abilities, and kind of just as I've got more experienced and gotten older, you learn more and more characteristics of how to impact people, how to motivate people, how to connect with all different types of people. So that kind of just came as I just came with more experience though.
Yeah. It's crazy you say it, like all growing up, like I can't remember a time that my dad ever told me good job either. Mm-hmm. Like, but it's the same way in business. Like now I run into it all the time. And like, I've even had people that work with now, like you don't tell anyone good job. Mm-hmm. Like I'm working on getting better at it. Like, but it's one of those things like that wasn't something that happened to me, but it was just always like focusing on progression no matter where you were. Like there's times when I grew up racing motocross, like I'm winning and everything. I'm coming back thinking my dad's going to be happy with me. Like I want to make my dad proud. I come back and my dad's pissed because he's like, I was watching your lap times and you're a second and a half off of where you're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. He didn't care that I won. Yeah. It was, you didn't, the you versus you every day was not where you was supposed to be. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think that kind of just mentality that you carry all the time, it starts going into those people around you. Oh yeah. And I think at a quarterback position, I think there's more leadership in that position than a lot of times even skill level. That I saw some guys that were crazy skilled that never had the leadership to get everyone to follow them. Mm-hmm. And I saw it on teams all the time at a high school level. And then even at a college level, I would watch them like, a quarterback doesn't have people that follow him. Mm-hmm. To where it's like, I think that is a characteristic that you hold that makes you great at what you do. Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's contributed a lot to my success. And, but I think as a leader, like if you get the people around you to buy into you and believe in you, it's going to make you better, and like for me, when I step in that huddle, I want to make sure all 10 guys have faith in me and believe in me that I'm going to get the job done. And when they know that, it gives me confidence knowing that they trust me and I can trust each and every one of them, but you have to put time and you really have to dedicate yourself to build those relationships. I think everything is centered around relationships in the business world, sports world, anything. Like you have to know someone in order for them to trust you, And so there's a lot of work that goes into it that people don't really realize, but
for me, it was just being a good teammate, and that's just what I always focused on every day, is trying to sit by somebody new at, the dining hall or, in the locker room, just trying to get around to somebody I don't know that well and, get to know them, and know why they're there, what motivates them, and kind of share my story as well. And that kind of always kind of, brought everything together. So kind of just, go as you learn and just get better at it. And that's kind of all just fell into place for me, honestly, in the leadership role.
What'd you go to college for academically?
Business management.
Business management.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I want to progress past football. So I know your body doesn't last forever. So what's the plan of the length of play to what you do afterwards?
Yeah. I don't know.
You're supposed to have life all figured out now, right?
Well, I'll tell you, you hear everybody growing up, like, especially, everybody wants to be a professional, whatever, or, have these big dreams, and you always have people like, well, what's your plan B? And I would always even, I would say my dad was, in my mind, I was like, there is no plan B. Like, if I don't have a plan B, then I don't have a plan A, and I'm going to put all my, eggs in this basket to accomplish this goal.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Like, if I'm not all in on this, then, or thinking about what I'm going to do if it doesn't work out, then I'm not putting 100% of my effort and time into that. So, that was kind of my approach, but also I was raised really well, and my dad always, instilled in me you need to focus on school and have a good backup plan, because you just never know. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do or anything, but I knew we had a good business school at K-State, and I knew I could do a lot with a business degree. So I kind of just set myself up for that. And then when I got those 2 extra years of the COVID year, I got my master's as well. So I took full advantage of my time in college. And, I have no idea whenever that time comes. I've thought about coaching, and I want to stay around football for sure. I just feel like I've been around so much of the game and have a master's degree, technically in the game of football. So have some experiences that a lot of people don't. So I think that gives me an advantage in the workforce or whatever I decide to do after the fact. So kind of cross that bridge when it comes, though.
Yeah. And I feel like it's always a hard, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of weird in that aspect that, like, I think about 5-10 years in front of myself, every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think about every move I make every single day of what that leads to in the future.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the right way to live, but it's just something I've always been that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's from decisions that I make every day to the networks that I build, mm-hmm. to all that. And it's I look at the NFL, a lot of people look at it as a game, and they look at it as you got to this golden level.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it as you got to this highest level of networking possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is
yeah.
Willy's Wonka's golden ticket that you got.
Mm-hmm.
That's and a lot of people I see don't utilize it.
Yeah.
I see from a marketing
Mm-hmm.
standpoint of what we do, where people get this huge reach, people get the biggest stage in the United States,
mm-hmm.
and then they do nothing with it. And it's afterwards they fall off. Then I'm looking at it that we're building an audience. We have all these people watching. I'm just a simple dude from Kearney, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's people that have played ball from around here that have made it to a national level and nobody even knows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now it's crazy. I'm you were walking into stadiums with 60,000 plus people in them
mm-hmm.
weekly.
Yeah. No, it's all about connections for sure.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at that always as what are players at that level thinking about how to leverage that
mm-hmm.
in the future.
Yeah.
That it can be a huge win.
Yeah. No, and we're fortunate. The NFL has a lot of good, programs and stuff set up to help guys, especially in the off season. They have, business circuits and all this type of stuff that can help guys, kind of network and kind of build that foundation a little bit off the field to where when they're done playing, they kind of already have a foundation built to where it's not like they're starting from scratch, So the NFL does a lot of good stuff to help us do that. But at the same time, for me, I just there's so much turnover every year with coaches. I mean, it's especially in the NFL. I mean, every year there's coaches going all over the place, and it's all about, this is my guy I've always worked with. He's going to bring, it's just it's all about networking and just having good relationships. So for me, it's just I'm going to make sure every single coach or whoever I encounter, I'm going to be respectful and try to, build a good relationship with, because you just never know down the line where, you could use that relationship, So, but there's also people in my industry that don't take advantage of anything, like you just said, and it's insane to me. Like it makes zero sense.
Yeah,
it makes zero sense.
And I look at it, they get put into rooms that most people have to pay big, huge money to get into those rooms. That I look at networking events I've went to early on in business. I paid huge money to even sit in the room with people that just to get a shot at even maybe getting to talk to them.
Yeah.
And it's like at the NFL level, you're in rooms with those kind of people daily.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely.
And most of the time it's, yes, football is the game that is being played. Football is the current situation of what you're looking at, but then what can be leveraged there.
Yeah.
Past that.
No, absolutely.
And it's like you talk about George Brett that you were talking about earlier. He's somebody that's leveraged his name of everything he's done afterwards. He's done all these different things, but his network and his audience is so big that he can walk in a room, everyone knows who he is. Yeah. And what year did he retire?
Yeah, I don't even know.
Oh, but where you at with the stats, Dre?
Dre's like 6 beers.
Dre's like
7, 8.
But
really nice.
Yeah.
So what does this next upcoming season look like?
Yeah, so we're going into my year 3, and we've got a lot of good stuff going on down there. I thought, obviously when I came in as a rookie, we had a rookie head coach as well, Coach McDaniel, and we kind of, just building the process. I love our culture there. I thought the way McDaniel stepped in there, and he really made it a player friendly culture. He makes you feel like you can be yourself all the time, and everybody was really, really cool and accepting of me and all that. But last year we had a lot of success as well and got in the playoffs and lost to the Chiefs. But this is kind of
rough.
Yeah.
How did that feel actually?
How cold was that on the field?
I'm telling you right now.
Keep that jacket.
Oh, I'll tell you what. This is what's funny is everybody on the team knew I was from here, so like that whole week we're hearing about how cold it's going to be, and so everybody's like asking me like, "Hey, Skylar, how cold is it actually going to be?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's going to be cold, but it's not going to be that bad." Well, they weren't saying it was going to be negative 30. It was like just going to be in the single digits. So I was like, you get moving around, we'll be good. And we get off. When we fly from Florida, it was 98 degrees. And when we landed,
20 degree difference.
When we landed in Kansas City, it was -4. And like when we got off the plane, it was so, that wind, when it's cold and windy, and it was
like burns your skin.
Oh, that wind hit you in the face. It was like,
It takes your breath away.
Oh my God.
How do you dress on the plane then? Because obviously you guys aren't, I mean, you're flying into the airport, but are you like walking through the terminal, or are you like getting
No, they're Southwest priority now.
Yeah.
They're priority.
So you guys are getting off and walking to your bus, obviously. So you're walking like across the tarmac.
Yeah, you're walking.
So what, you wearing flip flops or your floral, or?
Well, it was tough. I left all my cold clothes here. Like I didn't have a coat or anything. I was wearing a sweatshirt and sweatpants, and
I want to make some calls.
I regretted it.
I need a coat, bud.
I regretted it for sure. But yeah, no, the game itself though, honestly, was the coldest.
He told everyone it's not that bad. Not that bad. He gets there, he's like, dude, this is pretty bad.
It was so cold.
I was gonna say, I feel like too, like a lot of those NFL players, they try to do the tough persona, and I mean, go out there and no sleeves and stuff. It's like, dude,
I think Tyreek
you're cold,
shirt off
dude.
before the game.
Yeah.
You're cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like,
Oh no, they're cold for sure.
Yeah,
I don't care what.
there's a lot of times I watch games on TV. I'm like, you know how cool that is? And that was like one of those games that like, yeah, it was legitimately cool, but it was like, I did not want to be out there. I was like, you know what? My couch is quite nice right now.
No, that was crazy. Is obviously it was my first time coming back to KC, and it was a big thing for me. And so like, it was like all my family, everybody wanted to come, but I even was like, guys, like, stay at home, watch on TV. Like, it's gonna be all right. Hopefully we can come back sometime. But
yeah,
it was.
I remember texting your dad. I was like, "You going to the game?" He's like, "I don't know, brother. I don't know."
Well, then
those tickets were hard to sell.
Yeah.
People trying to give me tickets, and I was like,
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not using my season tickets. Who wants them?
Yeah. Well, my fiance was at the game, and after the game, they have like a family section by our buses, and so I'm coming out there, and it's freezing. So like, I'm trying to have conversation, get to the bus where it's warm, and I go, and you just see a herd of people. You can't see it. I can't tell anybody apart at all.
Well, they all got goggles.
Yeah. I see my fiance waving at me, and I go up to her, and her eyelashes were like literally like frozen together almost. And like everything. Oh, I was
like, I got married this girl.
I was like, you guys go home. Go. But no, it was cold. It was very cold. But
hey, Peanut Gallery got quite loud over there earlier. It's talking about Coach McDaniels.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you hit it the nail on the head from what it seems like from the outside, that he's 100% himself all the time.
Yeah, McDaniel.
Like,
yeah.
So it gives you permission to do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Is he like that all the time? Like,
yeah. Yeah, no, he really is. He really is. And that's what, like, we were on Hard Knocks this past season. Mm-hmm. So everybody was watching that. I never watched it, but like everybody would always, is he always like exactly what you said? Is he always like so cool and just like, nah? And that's, or is he put on the front? And like, no, like that's actually like, he's like that all the time. And I think that's really cool. It's not your prototypical, coaching philosophy or, what you would perceive as a hard-nosed football coach, like, but at the same time, everyone respects him, because he's the same person every single day. He demands a lot out of us. He'll call you out. He'll give you creds whenever you make a good play, but also push you to be the best and I think you can sense when someone's being fake or like it's not real. And like from the moment Daniel stepped in there, it was like, oh, this guy's real, and he's fun to play for. And I think our whole entire organization and team like really rally behind that and believe in him and his philosophy that he brought to Miami. So, but yeah, he's a character for sure. I mean, oh my gosh, he's hilarious. But yeah, he's a fun guy to play for sure.
He is. Was he the head coach when you got drafted?
Yeah, so that was his first head coaching job. Like he literally got hired that offseason. So he came from San Fran. Yeah. So.
And I think you can definitely tell, too, between like a coach that is a player's coach, you tend to see those teams have more success because that coach is for the players rather than, like you said, someone that just comes in and is just straight
or trying
hard nosed,
micromanage everything,
trying to do stuff that they did 25 years ago. It's like we talk about that all the time. Yeah. It's like stuff is changing. You have to adapt.
Be able to.
So I think, like you said, he is cool all the time. That's him. But at the same time, he's going to call you out. I think that's just,
he's got to be one of the young. Is he the youngest head coach out there?
I don't know.
He's got to be at least close. He got to be close. I'm trying to think of
Kingsbury. Kingsbury's pretty young too.
Yeah, it was McVay for a while.
Yeah. All those guys. So all those guys come from the same tree. So the Shanahan tree. Yeah. So Mike Shanahan, McVay, him, McDaniel, all those guys are kind of, I think, around the same age range. So
yeah. From a leadership side of things, talking about that earlier, I feel like there's the saying, like when a guy loses the locker room, like a quarterback or a leader, a coach, whatever, like I feel like it's obvious when you have that player's coach that they don't do that. Like you've never seen Andy Reid, any of these really great coaches lose a locker room.
Yeah.
Great quarterbacks. Tom Brady never lost a locker room. It's just the character, the leadership that they have.
Yeah. Well, and just like we were talking earlier, it's just like, you got to take ownership, like whether if it's your fault or not, like when you're the court, if you're in that position, like you take ownership for it, and that's one thing McDaniel, he always does, after a loss or whatever the case may be, like he takes ownership. And I think by him taking ownership and taking accountability, it makes the players, you look at yourself and you take accountability for yourself. It's like, oh no, it's not your fault, coach. Like, it could have been a better play. I could have made a better throw, or I could have made the catch. I could have, there's like, I think his position, him taking accountability and ownership and stuff like that, it allows everybody to kind of do that self-reflecting for themselves after a loss or whatever. And it just makes everyone better. And I think as soon as you start pointing fingers and stuff, that's when you start losing trust. You start losing.
Which I think at that level, I think extreme ownership only works with A players. Because there's times that, like, if you don't have the right people and you go up and you take ownership, head coach goes up there, says, hey, this is my fault, whatever it may be, we didn't read plays right, X, Y, and Z. And then if you have somebody that's not an A player up there, they're like, yeah, he didn't do that. But you have an A player like yourself that afterwards, like, actually, that was my fault. Like, I could have done this, this, and this, and this. Like, I've always been that person. Like, but it gains that respect that's like, he just went for bat. He just went to bat for me and took that blame in front of everyone on national television. Yeah. Like, and it's the same thing. Like, it's, I talk with the leadership group in business and within MMG, which is nothing close to the same level, but it's like, I will go to bat and I'll take the ownership of everything that happens within those walls. And it's really easy to take the good things, but it's like when the good things happen, that's when I say, hey, it's because I'm surrounded by a bunch of the right people. Yeah. I can't take credit for this. I'm not the one doing the content every day. I'm not the one doing the marketing. There's a bunch of ballers in here that they're making it happen. Yeah. And then it's like when the bad things happen, it's 100% my fault. It's not like, yeah, you know what? Logan really fucked that one up. Yeah, you should go get after Logan on that. Yeah. Like, and the crazy thing is there's coaches like that. There's CEOs like that the second something bad happens, when something good happens, like, yeah, that was me. I'm great. Yeah.
And you either gain or lose the buy-in of your team whenever those bad moments happen. Like you can gain the respect by taking, all the heat for it, or you can by blaming other people. Yeah. Like it's when people talk about like making good things come out of, negatives or building from rock bottom, that's what you have to do. Yes. Use that time to build that respect. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Cause that's definitely like, those are defining moments, like you find out the most about yourself individually, team, whatever, when it's at the worst, like when you're at rock bottom or a loss or whatever the case may be, like that's when you find out the most about yourself. It's easy to be 100% all in, doing everything all the time when everything's going right, but when things get shaken up and it's not going your way, like how are you going to handle it? You're going to get better. You got to soak on it and just, dwell in it. It's kind of, that's what you got to choose to do though.
Always towards the end of the podcast, do you, any final thoughts? Anything you want to talk on besides football or anything that we spoke on?
I'll talk about whatever. I mean,
I'm just saying, is there any topic outside of that and anything?
You know what? Since you brought it up, I didn't know that you used to race motocross. Yep. So like growing up, I was born in a really small town like Palmyra, Missouri, like Northeast Missouri, and grew up like, dude, I loved going to 4-wheeler races, like motorcycle races. Like how much, like I would say from like a motorcycle racer, and like the motocross stuff, like how, like what is that like physically on the rider? You know what I'm saying? Like,
so I'm going to say from a physical standpoint, like I played football and I thought football was pretty easy, like from a physical standpoint compared to racing motocross. Like, yeah, motocross growing up, like, and it's funny because I'm going to say the level that we raced at, we trained all the time, but they say racing a motorcycle is one of the most physical demanding sports in the world. Yeah. And I broke 18 bones racing motorcycles growing up. Like but it was just so hard on the body all the time. And I will say I started racing at 4 years old. I raced till I was 16. And I got really good when I was young. But I'm going to say that I did not grow up racing motorcycles and it was fun. Like I had to grow up at a very young age. Like I started racing at a national level. Like that's why we moved to Kearney. That's why we had 20 acres. Like we had a full-size national track out there, skid loaders, tractors. We had a 40-foot motor home, a 30-foot race trailer behind it. I was sponsored on a national level. Like it became a job. I'm 8 years old. Yeah. Showing up places. That's where, when I didn't perform out in Tennessee or Texas or Minnesota, Florida, wherever we were at, I didn't perform. Like my dad didn't talk to me for a week.
Knock drive home.
Like you want to talk about sitting in the motorhome and the whole entire family not talking because of me at 8? Yeah. Like it wasn't cool. Like it was one of those things that like mentally it wrecked me at a young age, like just all the time. But it was like I had to grow up that I was an adult. Like that's what I did. Like I went to school and stuff, and school was easy for me. Like I felt like I was smart. Yeah. But it was like racing motorcycles was what I did. Yeah. And so it was just a whole different lifestyle.
Similar with a lot of kids in sports that their parents are pushing really hard, like you talking about your dad earlier.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I feel like that's what makes kids great sometimes, though, even though it's not fun.
Yeah.
Which I think it's a good thing. Like, I tell Madison all the time, like when we have kids, I'm like, I'm not going to be the nice parent.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not always going to be their best friend.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do what I need to do to make sure that they turn out great.
Yeah.
And push them through those hard times. That they need to know what a gold standard of
100%
performance looks like.
Yeah.
And I transitioned what I learned from that into business, into just the person I became, the work ethic that has to go into being great at something.
Mm-hmm.
That what you have put in is not easy.
Yeah.
There's a very, very, very low number of people in the United States on the planet that have done what you've done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's like anybody that wants to say that's an easy road, fucking do it.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
That's right. Go do it.
no doubt. No doubt.
So it's like, I think it happens in a lot of different sports. So it's, and I'm going to say that there's a lot of sports are very physically demanding.
Mm-hmm.
Racing motorcycles was hard on my body, but it was something that it also taught me a level of independence that I think that's where I got that ownership level was because I come back. I couldn't blame someone else.
Yeah, exactly. It's just you.
I didn't have that opportunity. Like I'm at a national level. There's 40 guys on a gate next to me. I go out and I take a fourth. Like
somebody's fault, but you're in it.
Yeah.
Like
it's you on the bike.
I'm 8 years old and I'm like trying to come up with an excuse. And my dad, like, if you can ask my brother, if there's one way you want to piss my dad off, try to give him an excuse.
Oh yeah.
Like that would make that man come unglued.
Yeah. No, 100%.
But
what makes a motocross, like what makes like a racer like elite, like because that's I'm telling you, it's such a whole different world that I've ever been in, but it's always been something that's like been so interesting.
So the other thing too is like the hardest part one is just somebody physically getting their body there in a lifetime. Mm-hmm. Because one, if you start at a young age, your body takes such a wear.
Yeah.
Like my career on riding a motorcycle has ended because of Dre. So, so he crashed, broke 7 vertebrae in his back, 6 ribs.
Oh, wow.
Like it was a whole thing that like a family shouldn't have to go through, but it was something at that point. My dad sold everything. He's like, I never planned for my kids to be in wheelchairs. Like, so he's like, we're done. Mm-hmm. And you look at this elite level, it's one, your body has to physically, like my body has gotten to a size like just genetically that I wouldn't have been a great pro motocross racer at a high level. Like you look at genetically, they're like 160 to 185. Like they're just like, but same thing with NASCAR, same thing with anything on a racing level that you don't want just, you get into it when you're just in a high speed movement. That's like put an O-line guy out, a wide receiver.
Yeah. No, 100%.
You're going to be like, hey, this is probably going to go well. But
yeah.
And so it's just one of those things that the training that goes into it, you're watching lap times all daily. You're watching corners. You're watching to the amount of time that you're in the air, to what you're doing, to where you're positioning at. Like it's, but it's a you versus you thing all the time. Like most time when I lost, it wasn't because of other people on the track. So I was in my own head.
Yeah.
And you can watch a lap time out on a race that you're running lap times in practice, and you're out in a race and you're running a 3-second lower lap time. Like you have these lap times that are way off, and it's not because you're being next to somebody should push you to go faster. Yeah. But it's just, it's a mental state that I think most people can't ever get past.
It's interesting.
But it's a mental thing for you too. Like you walk out and you have 60,000 people. Most people just crumble. Yeah. Most people would literally just freeze like a statue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you have to be able to just turn that off and say, hey, be in the game.
Just me. Yeah. 100%.
But
yeah, that's interesting.
It's a whole different world. Like that from 4 years old, all growing up, it was like, what would it be like to ride into a stadium with all those people?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh, you get experience. You go out. You have a bigger stadium of people. He's like, that would be cool. But no, any other topics you want to touch on?
I'm good.
I think he should have his own podcast. I think he's dialed in. Got it. Sarby, any final thoughts for you?
No. Maybe one question for Sky. One last question. Top 3 quarterbacks of all time.
Ooh.
This is going to be real that kicks off the podcast.
Oh,
or one that you reflect your game off of, or whatever,
yeah,
someone you look up to game footage wise.
Yeah. I would say top 3 all time. I'm not doing no order because I know it's going to get great.
That starts an ad beat.
I think I know 2 of them.
I'm gonna go Tom and Pat, and then my third, I'm gonna go Drew Brees, and I'm gonna say Drew Brees is always kind of who I grew up like loving, just because he's kind of an undersized guy, and I always thought, like you watch, everybody knows Drew Brees for like those pre-game like
speeches.
Oh, like just a leader, like this is a guy, like I'm a little kid, I'm like, dude, I want to go play for the Saints, like like that's something I always looked up to. And he never had the strongest arm or the most talented, but like you'd always find ways to win, so
Just a gamer.
yeah, just a gamer. And that's kind of what I idolized my game after, just kind of being a gamer, just finding ways to win. So that's what I would say. I think you could argue a million different things. They could go a lot of different ways. But I definitely, that's what I would say.
I think on all 3 of those guys, though, they're guys that's the cool thing about having Mahomes now over the years is like it used to be, it'd be like 2 minutes left and Chiefs are down. Like, well, might as well turn TV off. I know we're losing.
Yeah.
But it's like Tom Brady was the person that, like, when you watch him and there was 2 minutes left, you're like, dude, do not count this game over.
Don't give the ball back. Don't
give the
ball back.
Yeah. It was 100%. Like, if he gets the ball back, he will win this game. And it's like,
yeah.
It's the first time we've got to experience that here, that it's like,
yeah,
make shit happen.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely.
But I think that also gets a team to follow him.
Yeah.
That they're like, hey,
oh, yeah,
give him the ball back and you'll make something of it.
No, absolutely. I think you listen to like, I think I was listening to the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, actually. I was driving back from the lake the other day, and they had Travis Kelce on there, and he was talking about how like special Pat was, just like what you said, just like you just know, like we just knew that. I think they were talking about the Super Bowl game, and he was, there was no doubt in our mind.
Yeah.
I think that's cool when your teammates are saying that about you, and they have all the faith in the world.
And that goes back to the buying in too.
Yeah,
everybody's bought into Pat. I mean,
but it's also like it's cool when you get to those spots, like almost like live for it now too. It's like I want the hard times, like I want the pressure on my shoulders. Like when the pressure comes, I'm like, this is what separates the men from the boys. Like
100%.
There's like you said earlier, it's really easy when times are great.
Yeah,
everyone can do it, but it's like it's the hard times that defy you moving forward. That it's like, bring me more of the hard times.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, and I push to an uncomfortable state all the time. That it's like, how can I get to the next like uncomfortable like spot that most people don't want to be in, that buckles them?
Yeah,
that I know that's where I shine.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So
100%.
Yeah. Any final thoughts down there, Logan?
Good. Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yeah,
no, absolutely killed it.
This is great. Thank you.
Very much enjoyed it. Anytime you're in KC, seats always open.
Absolutely.
But
I'll come eat my Chipotle at the office.
Yeah. Next time I might just be hitting it at the office. But Skylar, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
Darby, thank you for setting this up.
Of course.
But that's M3 Podcast. See you again next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.